let's get this thing cracking. So here we have our Java code. There's a lot going on here, as you can see. Put this down here. Had some errors earlier, but that's okay. So you can see, okay. You can see that in our business status application, we have all of our variables here, like name, major, status, as well as the courses themselves, GPAs, and all of the getters and setters here. Course is a type of, it's a variable type, so we have that listed here as well. So we can see we have course.java, and the things that go into the course are things like the name, the term, the institution, things like that, and then the getters and setters to go with it. This BSA REST endpoint, there's also a lot happening here, but this really just gets the restfulness going. So we can see we have our post function here, we have our put function here, delete, get, lots of gets, and then more gets. So we also have our grades, because an enumeration for grades, because I wanted to do just a character, we wanted to do just character, but you can't do that if you have pluses and minuses. So we did this, and we also did the same for the majors as well. And then the last one, REST config, it's working with the REST restar endpoint, just for more restfulness. But the main thing that's going on is what's happening in the business status application here, because this holds all the variables to begin with. So in order to run the app, we would just click the run button, and we can see things processing here. But really, all of this is connecting to a type of server called Glassfish. So Glassfish is what's running the actual server. And once it's done running here, then we'll show you the controller, because in a way, this is all part of the model. So there. In the meantime, we'll pull that up. So it's using npm. So npm run serve, and this just kind of serves as a proxy in between the NetBeans Java, everything happening in here, and the view itself, because you can't have multiple ports in one window, because that can just lead to many problems. So this will actually be serving out of localhost 8081 once it's done loading here. So last but certainly not least, the Vue code itself. So Vue being a big mix of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have, there's a lot of things happening here. Most of them were auto-generated by Vue to just get the right packages in the right places. The main ones that we only really look at are is this one right here, app.vue, which kind of lays out the very basic bones of the web page, and then our two URLs to applications and to student. So if we go to student form, we can see, actually, okay, that's done running, this is done running as well. So now let's look at the actual application, and then we'll get to that. So you can see here in student, you have fields, certain fields are required, so you can't just not type things in. So I'm going to type in James, Patel, put in my ID number, my other information, entrepreneurship, and then here you would put down information about each of your 8 pre-business core courses. So for here, I'm going to say the term was spring 2018. I took it at Palomar College. It was called Accounting 201 over at Palomar. It was only 3 units, and I received a B- in it. You can also put down CSUSM if you took it here. And then you would do the same thing for each of the other fields. To save time, I am just going to put a couple of, I'm going to put the same information over and over again. You know what, let's change it up. We'll put fall for this one. Fall, fall. We took all these in the fall. And so let's say we took all these courses at CSUSM. And then Business 202 was 3 units. We received C+ in it. For Accounting 202, we received A-. Business 203, also 3 units. We received, let's say, a B. Econ 201, which is microeconomics. I'm not a fan of economics, so I'm put down a C. Econ 202, 3, we'll put down an A- for that one. For Math 132, Survey of Calculus, I like calculus, we'll put down an A. And then for Business 204, say that was 3 units. Business Statistics, we'll put down a B- for that one. If a student were to be transferring in any transcripts or anything for other colleges, they could upload them here. So I can upload whatever I would please here. Start screen. Okay. And you're required to initial some of these statements as well. So you would click each of these statements, and then you would click submit. One thing I want to work on is that even though when you click submit, it does clear the form, it says these fields are required. I wish we would have had more time to change that. But now if you go to applications, you can see that I added in my application right here. And these are other applications that we added in prior for testing purposes. But the application's listed here, and if I wanted to search for it, it's dynamic, so I can type J, and you can see all the J options come up. I can type in S, H, and then any SHs, anything with an S would pop up as well. Going to the code now, you can see that for the student form, it's just like the user interface, where on the top it says please read each step carefully in a block quote. Then it has each of the fields in a vText field for view, in a vContainer also for view. First name, last name, student ID, email, and then the major is a drop down. And also one of those things that are required. These are all required. And they're in items because it's in a drop down menu. And then here we have the headers for the table. And then each course is here, Accounting 202, Business 202, and so on. Many lines of code. And then at the end of pre-business core, afterwards we have the text that says, please upload your unofficial transcript. It doesn't actually post to the database, but if we had more time, we would have worked on that, because the file type's kind of tricky with Vue. And then these are those checkbox statements that are on the very bottom of the page. And so that's it for on the user side. On the JavaScript side, we can see the data that we have. So this is the data that it fills out, the different rules that certain things have to follow, like the email rules. We use regex here to make sure an email is required. For the major items in that drop-down menu, you can see the name and the key for each of the different majors. And as well for the grade items when you choose a grade. And then the initial terms, the initial things outputting in each of the rows for the table of the courses are considered null, so that nothing is in the text when it starts. For methods, on submit, so when you click submit, a lot of different stuff happens. So first of all, it calculates the GPA. That's what all this right here is doing. This is setting up the GPA calculation, and then this is the actual GPA calculation. I know for a fact there's a better way to implement this in Vue, but I haven't not quite there yet. In this LED application where this GPA calculator is, we can see that we have our first names. We did have status for a while, but it wasn't quite working, so we're taking it out for now. And then everything that the users typed in for all of their courses as well. and then in the very end, at the end of on submit, it would post the application to the database, which then gets run into the npm here, which in itself gets thrown into the Java, which puts it into the database. That's the CoBA BSA.